Beauty. My name is Susie, and today I thought I would share with you a simple recipe for a deck wash. This deck wash is actually eco-friendly, it is plant-friendly, and it is pet-friendly or animal-friendly. So it's not going to hurt your plants, it's not going to hurt your pets, and it is going to clean your deck. And this deck wash works especially well for wooden decks that have mold or mildew that's built up, you know, the dark green spots or the darker black spots that are sometimes left on the deck just as a result of too much water sitting around. And this is going to clean it up quite nicely, and it's very simple to make. All we need, and we're going to start up by using a household bucket. This is a 5-gallon bucket, which equals 20 liters. And the recipe is going to be for about 2.5 gallons of hot water, as hot as you can get out of your sink, to half a cup of sodium bicarbonate, which is also baking soda, and half a cup of hydrogen peroxide. Now you want to get your deck swept up, move anything that you've got out there, and really get it prepared before you make your solution, because part of the effectiveness is applying it and mixing it while the water is hot. So we want to, as soon as we make our solution, we want to be able to apply it. We're also going to need an inexpensive sponge mop, and this is really the easiest way to apply the wash to the deck. And we're going to apply it generously in order to soak the deck, and we're going to let the solution sit for about 20 minutes. And then we're going to come in with a deck scrub brush, and we're just going to scrub all those points that perhaps have more dirt or a little bit stained. And we're just going to use the scrub brush to really work that in, and then we're just going to rinse it off with the hose. So it's really very simple, and I'm going to show you exactly all the steps on what to do in order to get your deck clean. Now keep in mind, this isn't a commercial product with chemicals, so it's not going to get out dirt that perhaps has been hanging around for 10 to 20 years, but it does a great job at cleaning deck that's reasonably soiled or partially soiled, not too bad. I can tell you that I've been using this since 2015, which was when I actually started cleaning a deck, and it really does work. It's very effective, and I like it because it's safe. So it's not going to harm Chester or the plants or anything else, and it does make a difference. And I'm going to apply it to half of the stoop so you can see exactly the difference between the dirty side and how effective this really is in cleaning up the deck. So let's move this to the outside, and I'll show you exactly how to apply it. But before I do that, I'm going to go get myself some hot water, and I'm going to mix my solution outside just before I'm ready to wash the deck. Here is the stoop, and you can see how there is mold and that greeny, mossy residue that's sitting on the deck. So that's what we're going to try and clean. So I've got my bucket of hot water. I'm going to add half a cup of baking soda and half a cup of hydrogen peroxide. And just really soak that deck. And now we're going to let that sit for 20 minutes, but already I can see that it's starting to work. So back in 20, and then we'll do our scrub. You can see how much of the mold is sitting on the deck. So it's starting to work, and it's only been 2 minutes. So we'll come back in 20 minutes and just see how clean it's getting. There's our timer. It's been 20 minutes. So it's been 20 minutes and you can see the floor has dried up. So now we're just going to add another coat of the deck wash, and we're going to scrub it a little. So this is the gunk that is pooling, and you can see how it's lifting all that moss and mold that has been sitting on the deck. And obviously this part was more stained, so I might have to come back and do it a second time. But I'm just going to finish scrubbing this off, and then we're going to rinse it off with the hose, and you can see the difference between one side and the other. Just look at the color of the water. It's black. And this is just algae that's grown on the stairs. Some spots are harder to get to. You might have to use a hand brush to get in those corners. But after you've scrubbed it while it's wet, now you want to rinse it with a hose. Another tip, after you brush and scrub the deck, you want to do it in small areas because you want to rinse it off while it's wet. You don't want to scrub it and that all that algae dry back onto and in the wood. So scrub small areas while it's wet, then wash it down with the clean water. So I think you can see the side that we've just cleaned and the side that we haven't. And if you've got a really dirty deck, then maybe you want to repeat the process and get yourself some new solution and go over it a second time, let it soak, and then scrub. But I think even with just the one-time application, considering how old the deck is and how dirty it really was, I think you can clearly see that it does a fine job. And you don't have to worry about your plants or your pets. Now I've got to do the other side, but first I'm going to let this dry and show you the end result. So I think that you would agree there is a significant difference between the deck before and the deck after we've cleaned it with this solution. It does take a little bit of elbow grease, but it really does work nicely. And it's safe for your grass, your plants, your pets, birds, squirrels. It's safe for everybody. And the other thing that's great is it's safe on your clothes. When you're using the brush, getting all that gunk off, it will spray whatever it is that you're wearing. So make sure that you're wearing clothes that's old and you don't want to get damaged. But regardless, the hydrogen peroxide and the baking soda will not harm your clothing. You can simply toss them in your laundry and they will clean up just like they normally do. And by the way, hydrogen peroxide and baking soda are also the active ingredients in teeth whitening products. So if it's safe enough for your teeth, it's definitely safe enough for your deck. And a couple of other tips. When you're doing your deck, you want to try and reserve it for a day that it's cloudy. And the reason for that, first of all, it's more comfortable to work on a cloudy day where it's not too hot, especially if you're scrubbing your deck. And also the fact that when you apply the solution, we want to let it sit for 20 minutes. but what we really want it to do is soak into the wood and start bleaching out all that algae that's sitting deep within the wood. So we want it to kind of soften it, loosen it, and bring it to the surface. On a very hot sunny day, that solution will dry very quickly and you'll find yourself having to reapply. When you go to scrub the deck, you want to make sure it is really saturated and moist, because you're going to be scrubbing away all of that algae. And like I mentioned before, while it's wet, that's when you want to use your hose to clean it off. If you forget about it and walk away and let it dry, it'll just dry right back onto your wood and you'll have to scrub it off again. Another tip is, if you're tempted to use a power washer, the only way I would ever use a power washer again, and I've done a lot of decks in my time, and that would be on the lowest setting. The problem with the power washer is when you use it on wood, it lifts the fibers. Find yourself having to sand all those down and then sweep all the dust away. It's a lot of work. And trust me, I've done it. I made the mistake on a 600 square foot deck of using a power washer, and boy, was it a lot of work. So although this does take some work and you're scrubbing, it does not damage the wood like a power washer would. But that's just my personal opinion. So that's one more chore that we can check off our to-do list. So if you try this recipe and you like it, I hope you share it. If you want to see more content, I hope you subscribe. Until next time, happy cleaning! Before and after. Great job.